Welcome everyone to episode 3 of Addicts Helping Addicts. This week we're going to talk about treatment, getting into treatment. We're going to talk about some of the stigmas around it and hopefully eliminate some of the fears people have about first seeking treatment. So here with me as always, I got KJ with me.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
So yeah, I guess let's get right into it. Certain let's see, certain treatment center around here that we didn't name, we did name last time. So Valley Vista. I got their their men's treatment programs patient handbook. And it covers a lot of things, between basics, medical, nursing teams, personal space, hygiene, meal times. So I guess we can just get right into some of the topics and some of the daily routines of day in the life of Valley Vista.
Day in the life of Billy Vista. Okay. Um, well, Valley Vista is obviously one of many. So, I mean, a day in the life of being in treatment, I guess. So, there are a lot of people in different parts of their journey where they're at the very beginning, or not knowing what to do. I guess focus on people who've never been in treatment and start with them. They don't know what to expect. They may have heard some things, but I feel they may have heard some exaggerated ideas. So, um, yeah. So, what to expect if you're going into treatment? Um, well, one thing since I've been working in it for a while. One of the things I don't try to use the right word. I don't want to use hate, but I really dislike that a lot of treatment centers glorify recovery in a sense, in a way where they show you these beautiful houses on the beach and they show you these rooms that are like with big TVs and big comfy beds and everything. And I feel like it gets that person hooked on the aesthetics and not the actual journey of recovery. So, um, what the person considering treatment needs to first really, you know, come to terms with is what are they looking for? Are they looking to stop? Are they looking to get better? Or are they looking for a resort? So, you know, um, that's the first thing I think. So, um, as far as preconceived notions about treatment, there can be many. And we can go through all just the initial, what is it like? Do I have freedom? You know, am I trapped in here? Can I go if I want to? Um, what should I expect? Um, am I going to suffer while I'm in there? You know, am I gonna be sick and not feeling well? Is everybody gonna give me what I need so that way I don't have to experience this? Um, so
Yeah.
there's just that right there to start with.
Yeah, definitely. I know I could talk about when I entered treatment. I was homeless at the time. I was living with someone that used crack cocaine. And I had to beg for a ride to treatment. That's how bad I wanted it. I begged for a ride to treatment. I had to ask one of my old neighbors, which was actually someone I stole a car from. But he forgave me. We were friends after that. Thank God.
Hmm.
But he drove me to treatment, and it was decent. I first got there, got checked in. Took a little while to check in, but then once I got in there, I met you. You did
Hmm.
my intake. We shared a Rice Krispie treat, maybe a little dinner, and then yeah, it got me into my room. Which at that point I was still high. I'll admit it. We had stopped at the gas station on the way into treatment, and I had done a little bit of fentanyl in the bathroom.
Hmm.
But just being honest here, not hiding.
Yeah.
So I did that before I went to treatment. Like everyone does. Last hurrah. They gotta get that last feeling before they quit. So did that and got settled into my room. And then they just kind of left me alone. They leave you alone for a couple of days. They know you're gonna be in pain. They know you're going to be suffering. They know you're going to be detoxing. So it's nice. They don't expect you to go to meetings right away. They give you your space. They let you, sit in your room. You can read books, chill out, let you detox. And then when you do feel at the point where you need something, where you can't make it through, they're there for you. They have comfort meds. I forget what it was. You know,
So about this type of med.
hydroxyzine.
So hydroxyzine, which is also called Vistaril, but we always call it by the generic names, and then clonidine. I
Yep,
usually,
methodol.
yeah, they're usually the kind of the initial ones we give. Yeah.
Yeah, and they did. They helped a little bit. But after day three, I was in really bad shape. I was sweating a lot, just going through it. Feeling a lot of stomach pain, my legs, restless legs, sweating, sweat, a lot of sweat. Then I was
Mhm.
freezing, I was hot, cold, just normal detoxing. But they were there for me and they kept checking up on me. So I signed a waiver because I took my Suboxone early just so
Mhm.
I could feel better. And after that I started to feel better. And then the day after that is when I really came into it, where they expect you to go to classes and stuff, and I started participating. I guess that's just a little bit of start. And then yeah, it's very structured. You wake up, get cigarette breaks. Don't worry, you get cigarettes if you're a smoker. They
Mhm.
wake you up in the morning, bright and early, 6 o'clock in the morning. You want a cigarette? So you don't have to worry about that. It's pretty relaxing there. And then we were lucky and we ended up with a really cool group of guys. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You got to experience a little bit of that. Ren, he was on here last week. Ren Chase, he was in there. I won't name anyone else because they're not permission, but he was in that group and like we just really bonded in there. Like every group share time we had, it was all of us saying, "Man, you're supposed to say something good about the person to your left and something good about the person to your right." And everyone, every time in group was like, "Well, I just want to say to everyone, we're all a good group of people." It's all the basic of that. So it was really like kind of like a family. So I guess if you are going into treatment and seeking treatment, I hope you ended up with a group like that because, man, that's where it's at. I felt really, in tune in there. And then I just want to share this before I let you take it back over. I met an older man in there who shared my father's name, and he grew up in the same city as my father, and he knew my father. My father was a drug dealer, so this person used to buy drugs for my dad. And I guess just having that a spiritual connection in there was amazing. We bonded as soon as he came in. I didn't know why I liked him, probably because his name. And
Mhm.
then like one of the couple last days I was there, he told me that he used to buy weed for my dad, and he remembered me when I was a little kid. I just felt like my father was there, and that's who I chose to him in my coin at my ceremony. So just want to share that little
Mhm.
spiritual experience.
I didn't know.
How was yeah? How was a day in the life of a nurse at a treatment center?
Mhm.
Stressful. When did your date start? Actually,
Mine, my
the
first
night
date,
shift.
my night
What was
shift.
your schedule like? What was your daily routine, nightly routine when you clocked in?
Oh well, there. I mean, there it's was pretty much because I came in and I was not necessarily preparing because the way they had it set up, every place is different. So I think MedPass started around um
9.
yeah, 9. It varied, but 8:45. It
Yeah,
varied.
yeah.
So then after med passing, and then depending on if there was an admission at night, which it wasn't really a lot. So if there was no admission at night, then after med pass, it's pretty much lots of paperwork. So I'm not going to expose that part, but it's a lot of unnecessary work at that particular place. But uh yeah, I'll say this. For the most part, I was basically just, to me, night shift there, and I think night shift in a lot of places, but not a lot of places, but night shift there was more to me about being available. So for the most part, you guys were dying down for the day. You going, you
Yeah.
had your cigarette, you might have had your last meeting for the day, and then you went to sleep. So I was dealing with everybody who was probably could not sleep. and probably calling the doctors or, the NP about trying to find the right medicine. So, you know, I was a bit more diligent about trying to find um, the right medication that would get, certain people to sleep. So that was to me what I mostly did. And nights of conversations with people who just had something on their mind. Um,
Like me.
and until day shifts came in around sometimes starting around 6. So yeah, I mean I feel like that's what my shift was. Um, but I wanted to try to see if I can go through it real fast. So how you mentioned basically your journey. So I wanted to kind of go through it more from the other side, so that way, like the person,
Yes.
people see. So this is what you can expect based on Kyle's experience. So you're going to come in. Ideally, you will talk to somebody first. You're going to talk to somebody first. They're going to get an idea of what you've been using and what you need. So, and ideally, a lot of certain things should be getting prepared. And so, a lot of times people will come when they're supposed to, sometimes they won't. Like sometimes I think Kyle mentioned having one last hoorah because when you go into treatment, you're going to be cut off from a lot of stuff, especially, your drug of choice. So some people kind of just like, okay, one more time. It's okay. We don't really shame and we kind of expect it. So for the most part, every treatment center,
Yeah.
most treatment centers are just like, come when you can. And if you can, come safely. Um, so when you arrive, again, like Kyle mentioned, you may sneak off and do one more again. Okay, that's totally fine. You come in, and we get you set up. If you're hungry, if you whatever it is you may need, we try to get you that because can't really focus too if you're hungry or if you're tired and all these. So we try to, depending on when you come in, we try to, you know, take care of you. And this is across most treatment centers especially that I've been at. Um, we have to collect information, obviously treatment, requires, we have to get you set up because your insurance is gonna take care of this. So we have to do that part. So there's a lot of assessments. Well, it depends. Mostly by the nurse, because a lot of the clinical stuff that is done a few days after. So the initial assessment is done by us nurses. So we get your basic information, vitals, um, you'll be searched and you'll give us a sample of urine. Um, and after that, um, then we sit down and try to get some information. Sometimes it's redundant because sometimes these questions are asked by whoever you spoke to on the phone. But it's kind of done again just to kind of make sure we can pick up anything that was missed. After that, after we get through that, typically take about maybe 30 minutes. Shouldn't take no longer than 45 minutes. At that point, again, depending on when you came in, again, you go to your room and, you go and rest. Um, this is the part right here that's different because at Valley Vista, my understanding is that you kind of go straight in, but I think it was on a case by case basis that some people got a chance to actually rest because there are other people who were kind of going straight into groups. Um, so I don't want to necessarily some treatment centers have a philosophy of as soon as you come in, you go get started with programming. A lot of other treatment centers allow you to go through that process of, if you're feeling sick or depending on your last use and depending on the substance. Typically with opiates and benzos and alcohol, um, there's a period of time based on how much you use that you're allowed to kind of just like go through that process. But some people who have done the process a lot, they kind of know themselves and they can tell you when they're going to start feeling it. So it depends on that. But for the most part, you're allowed to kind of like go through your process for about maybe 3 days or so. Um, and if it's opiate use, then I think as Kyle mentioned, well, he decided to start his early. But we try to hold off on giving you the Suboxone or Subutex or whatever other type of um, uh, opiate that we're going to give you to kind of like mitigate the symptoms. So after that, and then you also get like he also mentioned like the comfort meds, the clonidine, clonidine basically lowers your blood pressure, which can in turn kind of help to reduce anxiety. Same with the hydroxyzine, kind of like the same effect, kind of like a Benadryl. If you're having stomach cramps, depending on the facility, they'll give you certain type of medicines for stomach cramping, the sweating. So all these different things. And one thing I want to say is that, which I want to say is that the medicines we give are not going to completely eliminate. They just minimize. So, you know, um, that's what, it's good for people to understand. Medicines will not completely take it away. It's just meant to minimize the effects so that you're not going through an excruciating experience. So that's what you can expect with the meds. And yeah, again, like you said, pretty much after you rest it, you may, start going into your groups and being more interactive. Plenty of food to eat.
Like I went into groups, but I didn't go in right away.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And then everyone I saw in there afterwards too was like, no, the RAs didn't bother people. They just left them alone and let them come. After like the third day is when like they'll be like, okay, come on, you come in a group, let's go. But I never got that. But I did go to group the first day and the next morning because I was feeling fine. You know what I mean? I wasn't sick yet. So I went that night, I started group, and then the next morning I went to group. And it's funny too. It's not funny at all, but it's crazy looking around the room and watching all the people that came in at the same time you did, and we're all going through it together. You know what I mean? That's the other thing about treatment center. Instead of detoxing at home, you're around other people and you're all going through the same thing. You all can support each other. You all know what each other are feeling. So that was really nice looking around. I hate to say it, but seeing other people in pain, knowing that they're in pain with me. So that
Mhm.
was encouraging. It was really encouraging.
Yeah. Um,
And
yeah.
like you did say on the meds, that it like it just minimizes. It didn't take away my pain, but it helped me get through it. I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be hard. You're gonna put in hard work, and you're gonna be in pain. But that little bit of pain is gonna be worth all the joy you're gonna bring to your life. Just getting it done, getting it out of the way. Do it now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really important, with coming in, the expectation is do not assume that your pain is going to be erased by the meds. Because all time and time again, I always had to explain and teach, and it's like, when you come in, we're not looking to repeat the process of loading you up with a bunch of meds to numb you. So it's just meant to minimize the discomfort, but it's not going to take it away. So it's just better for people to know, like, that's it works. So yeah.
Another thing I'm gonna touch on real quick before we move on from this, when you show up, don't be ashamed of what you're using out there either. Be totally honest with the amounts and what you're using exactly. It doesn't matter if you're mixing and matching alcohol, benzos, fentanyl, anything, Suboxone. Just tell them. Be honest with what you're on because that's what they need to know that. You know what I mean? To help you better navigate your situation in there. It's gonna help you a lot in the long run. To be honest, just want to touch on that for sure.
Yeah,
Because a lot of people feel ashamed. Oh, this nurse is cute, or this, you know what I mean? They're presentable people, and you don't want to feel ashamed in front of them. But once you just open up and just let it out and be honest, way to go with that situation for sure.
yeah, for most of us who've been working in treatment, to say we've heard it. But interestingly, too, we're always learning of new things. And me coming from the west side to the east side, I've learned of new substances that were being used that was not being used on the west side. So,
Oh,
but
Xylazine,
that's one of them. Yeah,
that's scary shit,
that
bro.
was new. But yeah, just like you said, you don't be ashamed and don't hide because everything that you're using will help us to determine how we should medicate you. We're only gonna, we can't guess and figure out. So there should be no shame coming in, and no one should ever be making you feel like, you should never be seeing any weird facial expressions or anything when you say that. When you say whatever you're using, it should,
No
should never,
judgment. Yeah.
yeah.
That's what I got from you anyway. I was very honest. Last time I used, I told you 30 minutes ago.
Hmm.
It's just be honest for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, again, there's a lot of there are rules in treatment there for a reason. Um, because some people get weak, and when you are away from the things that you normally can run to, you start to panic, and it's normal. You're in a new environment. You're not entirely sure about where you are. You're in a place that's supposedly going to help you. So expect that, when you come in, you're going to be able to make what's called a safe call. So that means you get to call somebody. And some treatment centers are a little bit lenient on the phone calls. I think Valley Vista was a little bit more lenient than other places I've been to because they had a little room where people could go in and actually make more than one phone call in a
Yeah,
day.
we had a sign out sheet, but no one ever really used it. We were all pretty respectful of each other and just waited our turn. But yeah, I was worried about that. They're like, you can't make a phone call until after being there a week, and you can't. And I was worried about that because
Yeah.
that was big for me. My wife and I, we haven't really been separated for long periods of time. So when they told me I wasn't going to be able to call her for a whole week, that's what I was like, okay, I don't want to go to rehab. I don't want to go. So that
That
helped
is,
me.
yeah, that is actually true of treatment centers. I have been at some, they call it the blackout period. So no phone calls, just one call to whoever is the most important to you to let them know that you have arrived safely to where you are. That's it.
Hey, look, Ma, I made it.
Yeah, that's it. All you get. And that's scary to people because in the day we live in right now, everybody's glued to their phone. Your phone is your lifeline. If you don't have your phone, I know today you psychologically just feel cut off from the world. So yeah, that is something to expect.
In there just to see their phone and see pictures of their kids.
Hmm.
If you don't have any photocopies of, pictures of your kids looking on your phone. So, they're there to help you.
Yeah, I mean, so if you needed to access, I mean, because who remembers their phone numbers today anymore? We're so lazy. Uh, so yeah, I mean, yeah, for reasons like that. But realistically speaking, if you have an opportunity to get on your phone, you will call someone to pick you up. Now, even though again, Valley Vista allowed a little bit more freedom with the phone, and it happened a few times, but um, that potential is there. So certain treatment centers, many try to reduce that from happening, from you being tempted to call someone and arrange a pickup. Again, they can't stop you because you're free to walk out, but yeah, there are some treatment centers that have a blackout period, for that reason. It's not to be mean, it's not to take things away from you. The only thing, and the nurse is actually always the direct, it's on the front. Because when we do your admissions, we have to explain a lot of stuff. So if you are misinformed, or if someone tells, and plenty of times, if we say we need to take your phone, there's a potential where it gets crazy from there. Well, I was told this, and that, and then we have to explain. So there is some treatment centers that are not good about this, explaining that you won't have this. And I think sadly it's because they don't want to lose that person from coming in. And so they rather get them in and then, we have to explain. But I think that strategy has more to do with, well, now that you're here versus if we tell you you can't have it, now you're not going to come. So I get the strategy, but you
And you're
know,
not a prisoner. You know
hmm?
what I mean? You're not a prisoner either. You're free to
Yeah,
walk out on your own accord. That's
yeah,
one thing we had a couple people break out the freaking window, and like the nurse explained this the next morning. Look, guys, you're not in jail. You're all grown fucking adults here. If you want to leave, you can take with your stuff with you. Pack your bag and take your stuff with you. These people left in the middle of the night in a snowstorm with none of their stuff out the window.
yeah.
It's
Was it still?
ridiculous.
It was. Well, it's because there was because if you okay, I do
I
have.
know it's circumstance. I know it's circumstance, but yes.
Well, I don't know about circumstance. I think it was because personally to confront the staff and say I want to go, and then you might look weak in front of everybody else. So it's
I'm
a
not gonna
shame.
try to talk you out of it. too.
Yeah. So it's just easier to just sneak out and go away without having to confront people and the potential of feeling, being looked at as weak and unable to follow through. So I understand. Yeah. And it made no sense that they jumped out the window, but it was just like, I did understand that part.
It was
Um,
funny the way she said it too. You guys can leave with your stuff. You can leave anytime you want with your stuff. You don't have to sneak out the window in the middle of the fucking night, she said.
yeah.
It was great. I
Yeah.
was giggling like,
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you're not obligated unless you are in a special situation where you are court ordered. Other than that,
that's why someone slipped out the window.
yeah.
But
Yeah. But yeah, so you don't have to, but ideally, you have to remind yourself why you're there. And it's okay if you're not ready. It really is okay if you're not ready. It's nothing you need to feel ashamed about. If you do check into treatment and you're just like, I can't yet, it's okay. And some people will go back
absolutely.
to the same, some people will go back again to the same one. So, you know, also just know, you know when you're ready. And, it's just not a bad thing if you're just the time that you go in and you're just like, I can't do it, they'll usually always, most treatment centers will always, welcome you back in. And, when you're truly ready, you just, you go in, you know.
And
Um,
we can use Angel's example for that. You know, I mean, she went. We both went into rehab at the same time, and I couldn't get a hold of her after 3 days. And come to find out, she wasn't ready. She left. Doesn't mean that she didn't. She's not in recovery. You know, she just went a different route. You know, so maybe a treatment facility isn't right for everyone either. You know, but
yeah, I mean,
it's definitely a road take.
some people, I don't know if I get in trouble for this.
You
Some people, some people have done better without being in the inpatient. They have. Some people do kind of know themselves and they can actually do better on outpatient. Or some people do a little bit better in different situations. But I don't want to encourage people to not consider, because, but it has happened, but it's not a normalized story that not going to treatment, you can still do better. It is
better.
certain people may have certain type of support groups. Certain people may just have, a certain type of guardrails around them that, you know, they don't necessarily need to go into the treatment facility structure. But, again, that's not common or normal. Not common. I want to say that. Not common. So it doesn't mean that,
Oh,
huh? I was about to say not normal, but yeah,
no.
yeah. But yeah, so it's not common. So yeah, yeah. I think I lost my train of thought right there. Yeah. Um,
Different path going down treatment centers. He took a different path other than treatment.
yeah.
It's not normal. But not
Some people just quit. Like I said, I wish I knew how my dad quit, you know. Um,
I didn't know that. Your dad quit?
yeah, his was
I know
alcohol.
he had mentioned he was struggling, but I didn't know that he quit.
Yeah. So his thing was alcohol. And I guess I'm gonna put it all out there. I mean, he's gone, but my
Yeah, no.
I mean, he's struggled with bipolar. And back in the 80s and whatnot, 90s, there was really no handle on mental health or addiction at all. It was just something that existed. Mental health did not really get much attention. So a lot of people, and even to today, but a lot of people during that time were self-medicating. So it was alcohol a lot of times. Some people use stimulants, cocaine and meth and all these different things. And, that's how some people felt normal. And actually, it is kind of why some people have the two identities, because they were self-medicating and in the weirdest way, alcohol or those stimulants kind of made them feel stable, but it was not in the right way. So then they were, I think some people were fully aware of their how they presented under those influences. Anyway, that was how he was self-medicating, and unfortunately, though, it brought a violent part of him out. Um, weren't around him a lot, so there was obviously, a long period of time that I didn't see him, and when I did come back around, to see him, um, he didn't go through treatment. He was one of those kind of people who kind of was like self-educated, so he did a lot of reading and, he didn't go to any kind of formal schooling or anything, he just kind of like did a lot of reading. So that was him. And so um, I won't say he just quit, but the story I got from him was, he said he stopped. I think that what it was is that he got help for the mental health because a lot of times addiction is secondary. If your issue is primarily mental health, chances are your addiction is going to be secondary. So for people like that, you have to correct their mental health to correct the addiction. And then with people who are their substance use is primary, they have the secondary, you know, mental health issues, which is, could be on onset paranoia, psychosis, anxiety, or whatnot. So obviously, correct the addiction, you probably can correct the mental health, but then usually with addiction primary, there are
Maybe
under.
working
Hmm?
like working backwards.
Yeah, but usually with addiction primary, there's still something underlying because something has caused them. So we still have elements of mental health that need to be addressed. So depression, again, anxiety, for certain people, PTSD. So there's still underlying things with addiction primary. But if you can address the addiction, you may have a better chance. If the mental health was acute related to the addiction, then you can probably clear that up, you know. But yeah, so for him, I think that at some point he got his mental health stable, which allowed him to actually stay off the alcohol. So he didn't go through your normal recovery path.
Yeah.
He corrected his mental health. And so,
Touching on,
hmm,
sorry. I was like, touching on that real quick. I I learned that real quick in there, sharing in all the groups and stuff with all the guys that I was sharing the stories about. Like I didn't even know it was tied to my addiction. But I was talking about when I lost my stepfather when he shot himself in the
hmm,
same room. My best friend died in my arms. My stepdad died of a drug overdose, and then just my grandmother died on my birthday, and we had a house fire, just all these things. And then we lost a kid, 5 months pregnant, had to have an abortion. So just all those little things I didn't even know was tied to my addiction. I realized it in there when I was sharing all these feelings and they were coming up. And I realized that I've been burying them and burying them and burying them with drugs. And I didn't want to deal with them. So I think you're right. My depression and my mental illness, once I started working through those issues, I haven't forgave myself for my best friend dying yet. I still will forever forgive myself. But you know what I mean? Like you're definitely right. You have to work through those issues. And then I was able, I think that's why this time, because I've tried quitting in the past and I've had months, like Ren said before, I've had months of successes and then failures and successes and failures. This time it's stuck. And I think it's like what you said, I touched on my mental health and I took care of some of that emotional baggage I've been carrying. And then now I feel like I'm getting high on life. You know what I mean? I don't need that to feel good anymore because I don't feel so bad about the things that happened because I've been working through them. So
hmm.
mental health is definitely plays a huge part in any addiction. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you have to. So I mean, again, for the person whose addiction is primarily tied to maybe some type of grief, some past traumas, but they may not necessarily have bipolar or schizophrenia or any of those type of mental health illnesses, but they have experiences that they have not processed and worked through. So those type of people, once they can address those issues, unravel them, say them out loud, And that's what the 12 steps ideally is for, because we were talking about character rebuilding and making amends, all those things. So once you're able to do that, if your addiction is tied to, past issues and all that, and you can address those, then you ideally have a better chance to kind of like really beat your addiction. Um, and again, the meds are to keep you from physiologically experiencing a craving to go back as well. So it's meant to keep you clear-minded, keep you from thinking about that so you can actually focus on the work. The Suboxone for those who are opioid addicted keeps them from having to experience the craving so they can actually do the work. You can't do the work if you're thinking about getting high or anything like that. So we have to deal with the physiological part, your body's dependence on it. So that's what the meds are for. But yeah, once you do that work, you know, and you get a little bit more clear minded. Like you work through a lot, and you were able to come to a point where you're just like, enough is enough. You work through a lot of things. You forgave yourself, or might still be forgiving yourself, but you were able to unload a lot. The majority, I want to say majority, I don't know, you would know, but you were able to unload enough to be able to say, okay, so this is definitely going to be the last time for me, and I'm going to do this. My recovery is more important, and whatever else that made important. That's how it typically is the outcome. When you deal if your issue is, like I said, tied to a lot of past issues.
Yeah. And I didn't even have that realization until in there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I thought I was just sharing. Everyone else was sharing their past and why they were using, and I noticed it was all just sad stories.
Mm,
Something, traumas that experienced in the past. And I was like, well, I'll share my traumas. And then once I started sharing, I talked about it before, I was in that group of 20 men just bawling, and it was okay. And no one judged me, and everyone was there, to support me and comfort me after, you know what I mean? Hey, man, it's okay. And just having all that support like family. And I think everyone has a preconceived notion of, oh, I got to be a tough guy in, rehab, or I got, you know what I mean? You're there for yourself, and you're there for your own journey in recovery. I do see you guys now, but chances are you're never going to see these people again. Unless you come from, in Vermont. The treatment centers have the same cliques and crowds that, I get that part of it, but you know what I mean? Just be there for you. Be present in the moment. Work on yourself. And that's why we like to end episodes with work it. It's worth it. Work it. Man, I messed this up again.
tongue tied.
Work it. It's worth it. Man. Anyway, you know the thing with the people, man. Do with
Mm.
Biden. You know the deal.
Yeah, no, but it's kind of what I had said. I forget if it was the first
It
episode.
work. It
Huh? You
works if you work it. So work it. You're worth it. All right, now go.
got it. Yeah.
Bing.
But like I said before, when you say it out loud, because you can't work through a lot of stuff in your head, you can't. So that's what that was. You basically, established my point. I said, you have to say things or even write it out loud. Like you can write a letter to yourself so you can actually see your thoughts on paper, or say it out loud so you can hear. And you're like, oh my God, wow. Just like you said, oh my God, really? I didn't really realize that this was really impacting me the way I thought it was. So you also need a space, and that's ideally what the meetings are for, the groups are for. It may seem like, some people, I don't want to hear people's sad stories and none of that. And it could be that that person just really is just not ready to confront, their grief. So they kind of hide it behind, I don't want to hear everybody's sad stories, because it means that, they
Yeah.
have to deal with their own. So, but there's a reason for it. Saying it out loud, you have to say it out loud, for you to recognize, is this the reason why I'm using? Is this the reason why I'm, or whatever it is. So, so yeah, that's definitely important, and it's part of the mental health. So your mental health is going to the quality of your mental health will definitely determine, your recovery. If you definitely have dealt with things and your weight is lifted off of you, you have a better outlook on life. That's what's going to make it easier for you. So, the groups and the meetings are all important, and it's important to keep doing them Say it out loud. If you have a shitty day or a crappy day, that's what the meeting is for. You go there and you be honest. I had a shitty day today. Somebody pissed me off, and
Yeah.
I didn't know how to feel. I just wanted to bash something, whatever it is. You're getting it out because obviously holding it in is what caused you probably to use a lot because you didn't know how to process it and get it out. So the meetings and all that stuff and being able to talk to someone, if you have someone who just, lets you talk, and so you can get it out, say it out. That's another way of processing life, processing experiences. So you don't hold on to it, and you don't resort to trying to use something to numb you. That's the whole. That's what that's for. Yeah.
This reading right here, I just want to read it real quick. It's called "Sharing the Real Me," and like you just touched on the, being authentic and just getting it out. So it says, sharing with others keeps us from feeling isolated and alone. Intimacy is the sharing of our innermost thoughts and feelings with another human being. Many of us long for the warmth and companionship intimacy brings, but those things don't come without effort. In our addiction, we learn to guard ourselves from others, lest they threaten our use. In recovery, we learn how to trust others. Intimacy requires us to lower our defense and to feel closeness. Blah, blah. Intimacy brings, we must allow others to get close to us, the real us. If we share our innermost selves with others, we must first have an idea of what those innermost selves are truly like. We regularly examine our lives to find out who they really are, what we really want, and how we really feel. Then, based on our regular inventories of ourselves, we must be completely and consistently honest with our friends as we can be. So, just for today, I seek the freedom from isolation and loneliness that intimacy brings. Today, I will get to know the real me by taking a personal inventory, and I will practice being completely honest with another person. And this is huge. You know what I mean? Being completely honest with yourself, you have to be vulnerable. And that's what a lot of people are afraid of. Is going into that deep, dark place where you feel sad and isolated and alone and you want to kill yourself. People are afraid of that and they don't want to be alone and they don't want to feel vulnerable. But sharing the real you and letting others know, hey, I'm human, I'm hurting, and I need help right now. And that's what it's all about. It's just being honest and getting off your chest what you need to in order for you to move forward and heal, for sure.
And I mean, I'm hopefully going to be saying this for somebody. Being vulnerable. If you grew up
Yeah.
a certain way, if you were a child and you were taken advantage of, your innocence and all that stuff, you start to see vulnerability as a weakness. And especially if it starts as a child and you learn to create these defenses and bring up these walls, then vulnerability is going to be definitely hard. If you had a lot of betrayal, if you felt like that when you've opened yourself up, people use you, whatever it is, you bring up these walls. Even if you as the addict start to hurt others, it's coming from the fact that you were hurt, and this is like, okay, I'm not going to be soft, I'm not going to be nice, I'm not going to be any of these things because I don't want to experience that. So it's really that much harder when you come to treatment into a space where you're seeing people being vulnerable. You're like, I don't want that. No, because when I was open, this person did this to me. I don't want that. Or when so that will definitely take time, to be vulnerable. Um, but as you said too, you can't really grow if you're not vulnerable. So you have to, you know, there's no progress with being hard. There's no progress with, keeping yourself withdrawn and closed off. Nobody's gonna want to really Nobody can stand behind you. Nobody can really support you or be there. And eventually you will see that those defenses are pretty faulty. So to truly, it's okay to be vulnerable. I think what people need to understand with vulnerability is you can be vulnerable with discernment. So being vulnerable doesn't mean letting people use you. So when being vulnerable is being open-minded, but you also need to pay attention to people that you let into your circle. So that's how you guard against, being used and taken advantage of. Learn to look at people's intentions for being around you. Why do you want to be around me? I'm not saying ask them, but just pay attention to why they're around you. Are they, are they there for you? Are they truly to support you, or do they take from you? Do you find that they're always taking your, they're, when you interact with them, are they always draining your energy? You're always finding yourself always having to be there for them, but when it's your turn, they're not there for you. So just paying attention to emotional vampires who just always are sucking all of your light and joy, and then when you have nothing left, you can't call on them. You just got to pay attention to those kind of people who are just there to take, 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 and don't give. So that's how you can be better at being vulnerable without having being taken advantage of. And so though that's a skill, and that's something that you have to learn, in general, to let you can let people get close, but discern their reason for being around you. So that way, it's like if you see bad intentions, you learn to keep your distance. You may not have to say nothing, just like, okay, I'm not gonna get close to that person because I know they're not really there for me. I do that all the time. Like I can second nature, I can spot
Yeah.
people who are just like there for me because I can do something for them. I have a lot of people who are close to me just simply because of what I know how to do. If I call
Yeah.
them, I
Stop
call them.
crossing oceans. Stop crossing oceans for people who wouldn't jump a puddle for you.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who I know that just, they are close to me because of what I can do for them. If I call on them for anything, they're very limited in how they're willing to be there for me. So, and I recognize that, and I don't even shame or fault them. It's like there are just people out there who are just not meant to be supportive. They're not going to be too much more than what they are. And rather than be upset and mad at that, you just accept these kind of people exist. And so you know who to keep close to you. You have some people who will go the extra mile for you, do for you without asking you, what do you do? They'll just give it to you or whatever it is. They're there. They're there without questions, So you'll be able to discern who's like really in your corner and who's there to just like really just siphon you for what you got, you know. So yeah, that's how you get better. That's how you really work on your vulnerability. Just pay
Yeah.
attention.
And I like what you were talking about, giving, 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 taking, taking, take. But it's funny, in addiction, we can only keep what we have, which is recovery, by giving it away. And that's stated in the Narcotics Anonymous book. And I really like that because it's simple, it's sweet, and it's beautiful. You know what I mean? It really, it's the addict and the whole story all over again. It's
Hmm.
saying, you got recovery, now pay it forward, and it's the right thing to do, for sure. And we
Hmm.
had a few people reach out to us this week, and I'm not mentioning any names or specifics, but I just want to let you guys know, I'm very proud of you guys. You're even thinking, considering going to, getting help and seeking treatment. We had someone reach out to us, and they're watching someone struggle, someone close to them struggle, and they reached out to see if someone could help them, and that's huge. And I just want you to know you're a big person for it. And we had another person, like I said, come to an A meeting the other night. It was very huge for her. She picked up a white chip, and yeah, I'm very proud of these people, and I want you to just mention them in this episode. I know they're gonna be listening, so I want you to know that if you guys need anything, reach out. I'm sure Kareem would take a call any time of the day. I know I would. If you're feeling sad, you just need to talk. You got a kid's birthday coming up. It's a hard time of year for you. Something. Just reach out. We're here for you guys. That's what we want to instill on our viewers, that we're not just a podcast trying to get out information and push a message. We want to be interactive. We want you guys to ask questions. We want you guys to comment. We want to answer those questions. We want to help people in their recovery. So if you guys are curious about a question, we're not professionals per se. Maybe Kareem is in his field. I'm not. I was a professional addict, but I'm not a professional recovering addict yet. And then we will never will be. We're always going to strive to be better non-addicts, non-users. But I will share my knowledge of what I have learned and what my steps that have worked for me along the way. If you guys need help, reach out. We don't mind. We don't mind paying it forward and giving away what we have so we can keep it. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, with this, I mean, there are other platforms sure that's having the conversation, but I think, on top of having the conversation, I think, our goal is also to, if people have questions in the dark and in the secrets of the night, you know, and they just want to know or whisper, something like, what if or how do I, or can I, it's like, yeah, sure. If you want to know, I won't pretend to have all the answers. My experience is my experience and Kyle's is Kyle's, But if we, for some reason, can't answer your questions, we know how to direct you, but for the most part, if we, to direct you to somebody else who we feel might have the better answer. But for the most part, we realize there are a lot of people that are at the point of either shame, so they don't want to go into treatment, or you know, um, they really are struggling with if treatment, if going into inpatient is really worth it for them, And then there's some people who may still be struggling and think they truly have the power to do it themselves, and you know, and so we want to make it easy for everybody to just, you know, speak. If you even object to what we say and you have a different point of view, by all means, speak it openly or speak it quietly, whichever, because I don't think we're really here to necessarily debate, but we're open to opposing opinions, but we definitely just want to make make seeking treatment, speaking about addiction. We don't want it to be anything. Um, we don't want any stigma. We don't want it to be something that's like taboo. We just want it to be. We want to have open dialogue.
Yeah,
Because
you're sick of hiding.
we never know. We even if we get one person, two, that's fine. You know.
It'll all be worth it, Even if we just get one or two people, everything we were doing and putting together would be worth it.
Yeah,
And
and then
I have a good idea. So here's what we're gonna do. To encourage people to comment on this video if they're struggling. Maybe they have a topic they want us to talk about, or maybe they just want to get something off their chest. So I'm gonna pick a random number between 1 and 10, and that number comment is gonna get a free T-shirt. So it's not a contest or nothing. Just encourage people to help comment, and get something off their chest, and maybe we could help them. And if you go to the New Beginnings group page, you can always post anonymously too. So just want to share that with everyone. If you want to feeling like you need to share.
yeah, if you feel like you want to say something without, revealing who you are, it's totally fine. We definitely welcome we definitely welcome dialogue on our YouTube channel, for people to comment, you know. But if you want to have, more of a closed dialogue, we're also going to be, setting up, a feature of ours so we can have that as well, a little bit more exclusive where we can actually have dialogue with, people who are following us, that kind of have that conversation on the back end, where it's even more safe, so we're working on it as well. But we want to be able to, we're going to be also be working on more of a live form as well, where we actively are trying to engage you guys, about things on the fly, you know, whatever the question is or whatever type of comment you have and you want to address. So we really want to have, like open dialogue, that's not malicious and contentious, just,
We're just sick of this being in the dark. I guess we're just sick of this being in the dark. Everyone knows addiction. Everyone goes through it. Everyone knows someone that suffered from it. Why do we keep hiding it as a human race? We bury it under the rug. We had this war on drugs. Nothing's working. We just want to. It's out here. We're fighting this war on drugs, but we're fighting it blind. It's time to put some ammo in these guns and let's fight this thing. Let's be, and by having an open dialogue and being able to express our opinions and our beliefs and our different perspectives, we're gonna move forward so much faster if we just keep burying it under the rug and pretend like it's not even there and pretend like we don't have a problem. Look anywhere you look in any major city. There's zombies falling down. There's people's kids getting taken away. Homes are getting destroyed. I mean, this stuff is moving into the borders like crazy in any way, any way possible, and we're just gonna keep pretending like it's not happening. We just got to open up about it and just be honest with ourselves as a nation and as a people in general. that this is happening and we need to do something to fight it for sure.
And definitely as well, because, mental health is tied to it too. So that's just as much as important. If your mental health is right, so will your journey through addiction. So we also want to have the conversation about mental health as well, because it's important. You can go to treatment many times over. If your mental health is not being addressed, neither will your treatment, neither will your recovery. So we want to have the conversation about addiction and mental health because they're both hand in hand. You don't have one without the other. You do not have one without the other. Somebody who has mental illness, guarantee they're using. Somebody who's initially using, guarantee they have some type of depression or anything. So we want to have a conversation about both ends of recovery, mental health recovery and recovery from substances. So yeah, we want to make sure all different backgrounds are included. Black, white, Asian, Latino, gay, trans, people who are older, everybody's included. Male, female, non-binary, everybody. So everybody's included in this struggle. So we want to make sure that the platform is open for everybody to actually engage and, those who are willing to speak openly and or quietly, but just being able to speak. Everybody's voice is important in this, and the only way to really, really deal with it and get everybody to be serious and, you know, take seriously is funding as well. There's no funding hardly for mental health, and that's why it still remains at the wayside. I feel like we're barely just getting treatment, but there are a lot of treatment centers that, the insurance ties things up. And so people can't even fully get the treatment they need because insurance won't cover it, So there's so many other things that are wrong as well with, battling addiction and mental health. So, I mean, cliche statement, got to raise awareness or raise it even more that, these things exist and there are people out there that are dealing with it and we believe a lot of you guys do want help from it. It's just you may not know how. You may live in a place that your resources are extremely limited. You might live in rural areas where options are very minimal, but there are ways to get the help. And again, if we can, as we continue to do this, we're definitely going to be, gathering resources that we can hopefully pass out, places you can go, programs or anything for people who may not have insurance or coverage. We'll definitely be working on building that up so we have things to give to people. So that's our goal with this.
Absolutely. Big aspirations, big dreams, and we want to see everyone that we're close to and all our family members that have been through it and all of our friends we've used with. Not Kareem, obviously, but he's been touched by it too. He's seen it, he's lived it with his father. We've all been touched by it in one shape, way, or form. And I think the sooner that we admit that and realize, hey, America is one big addict right now, and we need to admit we have a problem before we can get help. For sure.
And one more
It's,
thing,
and it's a scary thing.
one more thing, I just want to make sure we didn't leave out somebody else. And for those loved ones who are standing by that person who's using. We haven't forgotten you either, because you also struggle as well. So you're there, you're probably maybe feel like you're enabling the person or you don't know what to do. We also want to include you as well, because you're also a part of it.
Yeah. You
So,
feeling like you're at your last straw. You don't know what to do with this person anymore. They keep robbing you. They don't treat you like family. They don't feel like you have no love. You feel like they have no love for you. Believe me, it's not them. It's the disease. Don't judge them too hard. Try to try to move past it because that's all we have at the end of the day is each other. And it sucks to ruin a relationship over something as petty as something like thievery or just little stuff. It's just disease will take right a hold of you, will make you do things that you never wish you would on anyone. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And even if my worst enemy was an addict, I'd still pray you get help and seek the seek the help you needed. I wouldn't wish it on anyone.
for those who might be extremely angry, you probably don't want to hear anything else. Like you've seen what you've seen, and you're probably like, but you don't understand. You don't understand. You probably don't. You probably don't. I think that However, though, education about addiction and even the mental health, because if the person's suffering with both, yeah, you're probably getting it pretty rough. Um, but just having one or the other, yeah, it's rough. And so there are things to understand, there are tools, and you're not just expected to just let things happen. There are
No,
boundaries you can set. There are boundaries you can set, and there are things that can help you feel like that you're not just letting yourself take a beating, an emotional beating or even a physical beating. But there are things to know and understand if you're dealing with somebody who's, you know, struggling with their addiction and mental health. So we want to make sure that you're not left out of the conversation. There are things that you probably want to know. How do you handle this? What should you do? Again, we won't pretend to have all the answers, but I have worked in this for a while, and then Kyle has the perspective he has. And so, again, if we can't give you the answer, we can direct you, but having the conversation openly, you know, it also helps to kind of like have that epiphany about what you could do, what you should do. So just want to make sure you guys know that you're not left out of the conversation either.
I do want to say, just have patience. If you're a non-user dealing with an addict, I know it's hard and we're shitty people during this time. But have patience, give support, do what you can, and don't give up on us. It's I had a couple people that gave up on me, and it was the worst feeling in the world. It'll leave you feeling empty. So, and for those few choice people that stood by my side and made sure I got made it out the other side, thank you. It means the world to me just to have that support. And yeah, so if you're a non-user, just have patience and just don't be willing to throw in the towel quite yet. There's still hope. That person is still down in there, and can come out again. Be patient.
Mhm. Yeah, be patient. Definitely. If you and don't try to be, I'll say this, be patient, but I would say don't even be patient alone because you need someone, you need other people. You need to surround yourself also with people who experience this. So being patient is one thing, but you're only human and your patience has its limits. So I would say be patient, but not be patient alone. So, it is worth it to surround yourself with people who are experiencing this as well because you guys can reinforce each other in the right way. But by yourself, left to your own devices, it's kind of hard, especially when you're witnessing that thing and you're just like, how much more patience can I have? So don't have patience by yourself. Try to have a group that you're around that you can also have an outlet with and be able to say how you feel. And my husband was getting on my damn nerves and he's doing this again, or my child is just stealing from whatever it is, whoever it is. Have an outlet as well. You got to get it off your chest as well.
All right, so this episode is coming to a close. You're at Addicts Helping Addicts. So I guess to take what you can from this episode, you know what to expect coming into treatment. Like we covered before, they're there for you. They want to see you succeed. You'll have a good support system. You'll be able to call home. There's great food. Plan on getting fat. You're gonna put on some weight. So plan on that. Definitely. They feed you well. They realize that some addicts will trade one addiction for another. And for me, I'd like to admit that's food. So they have the food for you, and just a great support system. So if you're having any doubts about seeking help and treatment, just know that it is the right step to do. And I guess New Beginnings and AHA is gonna have your back the whole way. So make sure you stay in contact with us. We'll definitely recharge your batteries per se to get you uh get you doing what you need to do.
Again, from, my side is, understand that, the going into treatment is about, it's about you. So, you know, it's okay if you're not ready, but even if you make the first step in, that's even huge. Understand that, the whole process is basically we gather information, we will have your meds ready, you know, and they're going to make you as comfortable as possible, but they will not erase. Um, As he said, you will eat. So be mindful if you don't want to get big, be mindful of how much you eat. But there's
Oh,
an abundance of food. Um, and understand that while you're in there, your body is also trying to repair itself. So you will feel uncomfortable. You will. Do not expect that you're going to go in treatment and not feel anything. That is a false belief. So you will feel. Um, expect that you will be hearing a lot of sad stories. You will. But remember that the whole thing behind that is that you want to start saying out loud these things that's going on. And even if you're not ready to share the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth time, at some point you will. And it's therapeutic to get it out because that's how you're going to know what are the factors that's causing you to use. So you're there to learn new tools. You're there to learn not to cope the old way that you do. You're going to find new ways to cope. So treatment is a whole new journey. You might do it a few times, but it's okay. You'll get it right. But it's not the bad thing that you probably have heard. I always say, don't listen to everybody. Have your own experience first, and then judge for yourself. And you might find a different way that works for you. And it's okay. You don't have to go with the norm. If you find a different way and it still leads you on the path, hey, that's fine. And that's
the
okay.
destination is the same.
That's okay. So yeah, that's my final thoughts. Okay.
All right, so that wraps up this episode for Addicts Helping Addicts. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And remember,
It works if you
all right,
work it, so work it, you're worth it.
absolutely, everybody. Thank you. We love you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
If you would like to support New Beginnings by ordering a t-shirt, you can do so by emailing us at newbeginning113023@gmail.com. They are $25 a piece, and all proceeds go to benefit New Beginnings Narcotics Anonymous meeting on Sunday nights, which is held via Zoom. And you can find the link on our Facebook page, New Beginnings. New Beginnings also has a group page. Please look for us on Facebook and add us. Your support is very important to us. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and always share, share, share.